we're getting serious here, Fred.
Yeah.
This is no joke.
You're ready to go.
It's on.
Right, it's 1 o'clock.
Yes.
There's the regular meeting of the Ethics Commission of the Town of Chesapeake Beach. All commission members are present, so we have a quorum. Also present is the clerk of the council and of the commission and legal counsel. And the first item, the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please join me? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, under God, with liberty and justice for all. First agenda item, approval of the agenda. Are there any objections? No. Agenda is approved. Next, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, which was held on March the 9th. The minutes have been distributed. Any objections?
Objections.
Minutes are approved. The next item, it's item B on the agenda. Status of the Commission's own amendment proposal. The proposal was delivered to the mayor and council for further action. Right now, the council has not taken action. I suppose as the council has been busy with budgetary matters very intensively, simply hasn't found space on the agenda, but we have no indication that the council will not act on it. Their convenience. Next item C, review of disclosure statements and of the filer's right to be informed of inspection requests by members of the public. I think we'll do the first part review first. The second one should take very little time because there has been correspondence back and forth already. And, I have a few, if you will indulge me, a few general remarks on the reports that were filed. There are some recurring errors or reasons for objection, such as a partially missing address on the cover page, which identifies the filer. In several cases, we see the street address, but no town. And a question is that a fatal error that requires rejection of the form? I don't think so myself. In the case of elected officials, it is necessarily so that they reside in town, or else they wouldn't be elected. For others, several people, most filers live in town, and I think it's a reasonable interpretation of the forms that if nothing is said, what they mean is Chesapeake Beach. So my proposal would be that we let that pass without taking further actions.
Agreed.
If
Yes.
Okay. And matter if later when we go through it, may I ask both of you to share your notes with me afterwards later, because my writing speed is slow, and I've been known to not catch something. So if you just send it to me and I say, oops, would be much appreciated. Another recurring problem, in quote unquote, on Schedule A, dealing with real property owned. Sometimes the owners also filled out portions of questions pertaining to tenants only, where the owner is the owner. I think again, this is harmless error and doesn't require corrective action. I mean, there's no misunderstanding or misleading information. I call myself the landlord. I'm the landlord and the tenant.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Next, a similar thing. In quite a number of cases, a particular schedule is was classified as not applicable. And yet, if we look at the actual schedule, sometimes there appears information. And the question, again, should we bounce those back and say, fix it? Or do we say this is, immaterial or some kind of something in the order of a typographical error, but it is not, wouldn't mislead anyone.
So in those situations, are you suggesting that we consider that they mistakenly X'd or checked off no for that schedule, and nonetheless, when they got to the schedule, filled it out? Is that the assumption we make?
I'm not talking about schedules that were fully filled out. I seem to recall seeing one or two where on the master list, a particular schedule was not indicated as applicable.
Right.
Yes, but the schedule itself was completed.
Was partially
That's exactly
filled?
what you're saying, Fahad.
It
Exactly.
was filled out
Exactly.
I think in probably no more than one or two cases was filled out, and somebody just forgot to check off
Right.
the right box in the list of schedules. Again, I consider that harmless. The schedule was there; it goes on the record, so we don't need to do anything by way of correction.
And just as a point of clarification, if the schedule in that situation filled out correctly, I agree with you. If it's filled out partially, then I think it begs a question that which one is it?
Yeah, what did they mean? Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yes, council's notes in a number of cases. There is some information here. They say Schedule B usually involves Schedule B, a business interest.
Business, yeah.
Schedule B is only partially filled out. It is not designated as applicable, and yet the partial information that we see permits the inference that the filer actually does have a business interest and just didn't fully disclose. So in that case, we can either ignore the schedule or we can send it back and say, please clarify, complete, or tell us, no, this was an error, it does not apply.
My thought would be in the cases they completed the schedule, we don't need to go back and say, well, you checked off no on the cover sheet. Why did you complete it? If it's complete, it's taken.
Yeah.
But in the cases that they are incomplete and it's checked off no, I think it deserves a clarification. Meaning that, did you mean to fill this out completely, or did you mean that this doesn't apply to you?
Yeah, that's the question.
Right. I think in those cases where the schedule is incomplete but is attached, it begs the question.
Yes, I would.
I see puzzled faces.
agree
Fred,
that this is the prudent and responsible way to act.
When you say incomplete, by definition, it's all incomplete if they didn't check it, or they didn't disclose, or if they disclosed and didn't check it, or if they
No,
checked it and didn't
I see.
disclose. So it's incomplete.
But by incomplete, I mean if they filled out, okay, I have interest in XYZ, but all the other relevant questions they did not
Yeah,
answer.
yeah,
What
that's incomplete.
percentage I have,
That's
all those
incomplete.
things.
I agree.
I didn't.
I agree.
In those cases, I think it begs the clarification.
It has to go back to them. Yes, I agree.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. What concerns me a little bit is parsing it or breaking up the introductory question with the schedule, because they go hand in hand, because the schedule itself does not contain the information from the introductory language question. So if you ignore the list of schedules, these check there, is it really a complete filing just to,
Answer the question later on. Yeah.
well, not ask the question, but you're losing a little bit of context if you're filling out a schedule for which you've said the schedule doesn't apply.
So you, what I hear you saying is that you would like it to be a little bit more stringent in that if you say it's not applicable, it shouldn't fill out at all. If you say applicable, then it should be filled out completely. Any other situation, it should be returned to the filer as which way is it? I'm okay with
I'm
that
okay with
more
that too.
stringent
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
requirement.
Agreed.
So, as a footnote, the next time we do this, I think the schedules should, at the very top,
The question.
put the question.
Right.
So these ambiguities shouldn't can justly attributed to the drafters of the questionnaire. But I think our consensus is that where a schedule is partially filled out in a way that permits the inference that it was intended to be fully filled out and the filer got distracted or for whatever reason didn't complete, we will send it back and ask for clarification.
Well, I think what Fred said goes beyond that. So even if they checked no and they completely filled out the schedule,
Still has to go back,
we
yeah.
still
Yeah.
send it back to them to say,
Check this.
should you have checked? Yes.
Yeah, because this entire form is being submitted under penalty of perjury, under oath. And I think it's dangerous to start, parsing it out.
Making those
yes, part
assumptions.
no.
Yeah.
I agree with
I agree. I agree.
yes.
I agree.
If there is a an apparent contradiction between the declaration it applies or does not apply and the actual schedule that was filed, then yes, that has to be clarified. Another item throughout relates to the Schedule G, I think it is, earned income. And some of the elected, which I'm talking about income of the elected officials here. As far as I'm aware, they all receive a payment from the town. I think the mayor gets $3,000 a year, council members $2,000, and really nobody declared this as earned income. So the question is this earned income? And the definition of earned income as a fallback says whatever is considered earned income under the tax code is earned income. Now, I'm not a tax specialist, but my instinct as a hard-pressed taxpayer would be, surely the taxman will say, you get a payment of $2,000 for your service as a elected official. Yes, that's earned income. It's certainly taxable. Now, not everybody will necessarily interpret it the same way. I think I saw in one of the pieces of paper that somebody talks about, it's a stipend. And an elected official may say, no, this is not income. If I consider this payment for the work I do, I would require much, much, much more. I would not do this for $2,000 a year. So it's more of a gratuity. But it's not earned income. And I think should we consult a tax advisor and say, is this earned income or is it not? Or should we take the position that the town regards this as earned income? A question we could put to the town treasurer is, do you send out 92 forms to the elected officials? I don't know what the answer would be.
When I look at the definition that we have for Schedule G, which is where they're supposed to do, it says, during the reporting period, did you or any close relative receive any earned income from self-employment or from an employer or from an entity to which you and relative were owners? And then we have a note that elected officials and candidates for elected must provide information for all entities, whether or not located in town and doing business. So with that definition, I guess, Peter, what you're saying is that the term earned income may have been interpreted differently by people, meaning that they consider what they get paid as stipend, not earned income.
But we do have an express definition of earned income in the definitions.
And
Wages, salaries, bonuses, professional fees, tips, compensation that results from the covered person's personal labor or services, strike benefits, long-term disability, and a few other, and any other receipt of money that's deemed earned income.
Goes to the federal tax code, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And anything else that would
Anything
be-
else that Uncle Sam would consider earned
Right.
income,
We should
even
consider
if it's not
I mean, if it's not listed there,
enumerated.
yeah.
So I hear your question now is really how is income from town reported to the recipients? Is it the W-2, which is earned income, or is it some,
Well, but
it can't be any other way.
But question is, I think first, is this compensation the result from the covered person's personal labor or services? Yes, then it's earned income
Unquestionably,
by
yes.
definition.
Right. Yes.
By your definition, the commission's definition, as part of the form.
I admire people who can work off the screen.
It's actually in the
Services.
printouts too, Peter.
Yeah.
If you-
Other receipts of money, earned income under the Internal Revenue Code. One can probably argue, is this like a bonus, professional fee? Elected official is not a profession. Compensation, and some kinds of personal services, yeah. But it's easy enough for me to go to the town and say, does the town treat this as a compensation, and do you send out W-2 forms?
Not to
They really
belabor
need
the
that.
point, but even if they said, no, we don't do W-2, let's just for the sake of discussion, based on this definition, they still should, they should still report, based on the definition we have.
Exactly.
I would note that I think 2 members of the council did list it as earned income, and the rest of them did not.
Not everybody did list it.
No,
So,
two people did, the rest of them did not.
Well, Council, do you agree with Fahad's reading of the definition? That under our definition, it would be earned income for personal services,
I think it's
whether or not it is taxable.
whether or not is treated by the Internal Revenue Code. It's still under this definition, which you all have adopted as part of the form, is earned income.
All right. So the culprits will be asked to complete their disclosure. Other thing which we see in a number of cases is that on the cover sheet, that the reporting period was misstated. Some people filled in 2023 in the line item that applies to candidates for office. And that is that something that the filer should correct? Or do we say this quite clearly does not, is not meant to be, this is the disclosure statement for the past calendar year.
The fact that we have a signature and date on the cover, perhaps it's indication that it was fine, it was for the preceding year. If we want to cut it slack.
Yeah, if you want to cut slack, exactly.
And it's a statement made under oath. but
Right,
it's,
correct.
And it's more like a typographical error. Yeah, I'm,
Council, what do you suggest?
Well, by filling in the date, and it supposedly is a termination report of official who left office during the reporting period, January 1 through whatever, that date that was filled in is only for a termination report. It's not for a regular reporting period. So my sense is that if somebody filled in a date in the blank space, then that is saying under oath that this is a termination report.
I have to go back and correct that then.
I think that ought to be correct.
I have to go back and correct it. Because
Is
of
that
the,
what you were referring to, Peter, or were you referring to the December 31, 2022 or 23 rather than 2022? That's the way I interpreted what Peter.
well, the date that would have to be filled in is the termination date
Right.
when the person left.
I would defer to the council's opinion.
I said, Peter, you're talking about this date right here or this date?
No,
here?
I'm talking about the one that's blank on the, some of them filled in 2023 in the very last line.
I think that anybody who did that needs to come in, cross it out,
I
and
agree.
initial it.
I agree.
And perhaps this is a note for the form that maybe we need to separate the two a little bit more so that it's clear. Maybe termination is in parentheses, so because it's not very common that you fill that out. So we kind of make it clear that you're actually checking off something else.
Well, that it's another thing to be improved. These things are just too close together,
Exactly.
Right, right.
so we have to give them a better roadmap. So people, in a hurry, they don't read it carefully. Just look at it. Oh, there's a blank date.
Exactly.
This is probably what happened. But there are not very many people to whom this applies, but let them suffer a little for being careless. Okay, that is okay. Now I have a whole lot of items here that improvement next time, but that is not an agenda item today.
May I make a comment?
Absolutely.
I did the same thing you did. I went through and looked for common issues, and of the 5 that I wrote down, you covered 4 of them.
What is the fifth?
This one is Schedule H, which is the new schedule that we had to add this year.
Oh, relations with certain government
Government
entities.
Some people fill that out, some people do not. Um, That would really only apply to elected officials.
Yeah.
And
Every employee.
no,
No.
well, whether you have a contractual relationship or financial relationship with a,
Yes, you do. A government entity specifically lists municipality. So every employee has a contractual and financial relationship with a town. Silly to ask them that question, and we may see whether that particular information is really mandated or whether but or for now the question is again under the aspect that this is sworn to under penalty of law. Would we have to have every employee come in, see Sharon at the desk, and make a check mark on Schedule H?
Is this form, I can't recall, is this form mandated by the state or did we add it on our own?
now this was new language that we added to the ethics ordinance.
Because
state
it came
mandate.
down
Because it
from
came down,
the
yeah.
state. And I'm trying to figure out what is the intention here?
What?
What's the intention of the question? What if you have a relationship with the University of Maryland?
Just to disclose it, I think.
Something happened in the operations of state government that caused some senator or delegate to say, we got a problem here. We have to make people disclose. I don't know what it is.
Somebody voted for something, didn't disclose that they had a relationship with whatever. Yeah.
No, and sometimes, as we discovered previously, the state didn't know what they were doing. They gave us a definition that nobody can understand. The attributable, the saga about the attributable interests.
Yeah, I recall that.
The only other comment I'll make is that of the.
I'm sorry, before you move
Oh, I'm
on, so
sorry.
are we saying that even us, we should have checked off Schedule H because we have a relationship with the government?
Well, yeah, that would have been my point. It's not just employees. We have
Right?
I think it's a contractual relationship with the
Yeah.
town. Is it
We
not?
don't have a
Not
contract.
the same thing. Yeah.
You're appointed officials and
Yes.
you don't receive compensation.
It's true.
So this is only for people who receive
The
compensation from those entities.
Well,
Is that correct?
no, it could be somebody who has some contract that requires provision of service without compensation.
I guess we don't have a contractual agreement.
Right.
So that's fine. Right.
Sure. Certainly we have, once we were appointed, that created certain obligations which have now toward the town.
It's moral obligation, not contractual agreements.
Well,
Because we
It is a
didn't,
moral obligation,
Right.
no question.
we didn't sign any contract with anybody.
A bad deed that somebody could do, which would result in liability toward the town. pressed to think of something.
It's a tricky one.
I mean,
It's not realistic, but if we take action without a quorum, which would be one person by itself takes an action that requires action by the commission, and could that lead to, other than the town saying, no, this was invalid, it's a nullity. But could, if it is something, and I cannot think of an example right away, where the town can that point their finger and say, you caused us some damage, some loss, and therefore we want you to compensate us.
Any actions that you all take, certainly in good faith within the, is going to be covered by immunity. Selves and immunity for the town, and not highly unlikely to result in any monetary. May be some court action for injunction or equitable relief or set aside your decision, but it's not going to be the type of thing.
Okay, so council's opinion would be that those unpaid volunteer members of the several citizens commissions that this town has that is not reportable. H.
That would be the Ethics Commission, Board of Appeals, Planning and Zoning Commission, Election Board.
makes sense.
All right.
Now, the last comment I was going to make is that there were 29 disclosures filed so far this year. Only 7 were clean. 25, under less than 25%. And I've never seen in any of the jurisdictions I've worked with such a small percentage of accurate forms submitted.
And what do you attribute that to?
Right?
What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. Part of it, to the extent we're dealing with appointed officials and employees, everybody but the electeds, you require a disclosure much more complete than anybody else. Most other jurisdictions, if not all other jurisdictions, require appointed officials, employees to file like a one-page gift form. Disclose any gifts that you may have received during the past year. So there aren't too many ways that you can go wrong with something like that, unless you forget to sign it or you put the wrong year in. But on these forms, because the number of things that have to be reported is so voluminous, there are more opportunities to make errors. I'm not suggesting intentional malicious errors, but just errors in completion of the form.
Well, does that suggest that we have gone overboard? Meaning that I agree that, I work for the federal government, and as employee and, senior executive staff, then you have special requirements for filing.
I'm not going to say that you went overboard. I know that the prior commission felt very strongly about requiring substantial disclosures from everybody who had a file, everybody who has to file one. The concession that they made for non-elected officials is that, you know, on a lot of these disclosures, it has to be tied to doing business with the town or within 10 miles of the town, and some real nexus between the official or appointed official or employee and the town government. Whereas for elected officials, for instance, do you own property anywhere in the world? That has to be disclosed. You have business interests anywhere in the world.
Right,
Not
right.
just, so, and I'm not going to say that it's a bad thing to have that disclosure, but that's purely a policy question.
Right, right.
Well, our ordinance is written in such a way that it casts this wide net.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And I don't know how that came about. I was somewhat involved in the very first phase of when it first became mandatory for municipalities like Chesapeake Beach to adopt a substantially equivalent ordinance. And the first version, our ordinance that was adopted, was heavily criticized by the State Ethics Commission. They didn't like it at all. But beyond that, my memory doesn't stretch. I stopped paying attention. But somehow I picked up that there was a reason why we have this, fine mesh net to capture everything.
What I remember for the few years I've been working here, when I first came aboard, there was a lot of scuttlebutt among the commission members about how corrupt Chesapeake Beach is or has been in past years. With the gambling and the slot machines and this and that and the other thing. And we need to clean things up, and we want to have full disclosure from many people as possible to avoid that.
Oh, perhaps you're right, Farhad. We went overboard. It may be time now to rein some of this in. Maybe.
I think it's a conversation to be had.
Right.
Not right now, but at some point we need to reflect and say, what is it required? And I've heard the same background about the city or the town and the issues involved, and probably tightening the requirement at the time was helpful. But I do question, in general, I believe that you don't want to overburden people unnecessarily unless there is something to be gained from it.
Yes.
And we can look at all these disclosure statements. Has there been anything that have been changed or prevented or found not appropriate? So it's a philosophical question to some extent, to what extent we want. And as you pointed out, we may have to revisit the ordinance if the ordinance is actually saying that we have to do this for everybody. And look at the jurisdictions that don't have that and say, what do we need to change in making it a little bit less onerous on the filers, especially the ones who are not compensated. They're volunteers, basically.
Basically, what you are saying is we might decide to go back to the beginning to find out what disclosures the state actually requires of municipalities like us.
It differs between elected officials and candidates. on the one hand, that requires major disclosure and appointed officials.
Okay, if we find out, because even you would have everything in your head at all times, I dare say, this is why laws are written down. Say what is the minimum threshold for elected officials, for appointed officials, or certain appointed officials, or whatever the state requires. Then we say where and to what extent does our ordinance impose greater burdens, and is there or continues to be today a policy reason to maintain this tight network of requirement. And if I had to vote today, I would really drastically cut down, if I had my druthers, of these. We will come to one later. We look at the disclosure schedules of professional firms that are engaged by the town. The town council, for example, Mr. Pounds, did not respond to the question, how much money did you get from your contacts with various municipalities? He said, I represent numerous municipalities to provide essentially the same type of services that I provide for town of Chesapeake Beach. And our next question is, how much money did you get for it? And I'm not sure, and he didn't answer. And I'm not at all under oath or not that we can come to him and say, no, you must go back and say, how much did you bill all those municipalities over the year? Give us the number. Now maybe there's some kind of privilege governing the legal profession. Possibly able counsel will be able to find something that allows him to refuse the question. And I'm retired, but when I was still practicing law myself, I would say, like hell, I'm not telling you that. So,
A discussion for some other
Yes, for
time.
future.
but are we in agreement that we would do a on the ground up review of our ordinance and discuss whether we can or should propose a pretty substantial surgery to the mayor and council?
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. We are at the point where we can look at individual filings. And I suppose we'll just go down the stack of paper and use council's comments as a crutch. Try and be quick about it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Would it be easier to You have what I sent you? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these are my brilliant thoughts. Pat Mahoney did not disclose earned income from the town of Chesapeake Beach. We should, have that that remedied. He has to report, and as well as other council members.
And we just talked about Schedule H and
We
the
did, yeah,
requirement for
Schedule
that
H.
as well. Yes, so both of those need to be remedied.
Right, correct.
Mr. Jaworski, same situation. Ms. Bodine, he also has Schedule H to fill out. And should have checked Schedule B as applies, because she has a business interest, but she did file Schedule B. So I don't think we need to have her come in and check the box on the master list that says it applies quite clearly. She did make the disclosure.
And the issue on Schedule A, as we discussed, is not significant and we can skip that
Yeah,
essentially.
I mean, this is a mistake that
Right,
several people made.
exactly.
Schedule C, again, there's a discrepancy between the master list and what she actually filed. She did file Schedule C, and listed a number of gifts. Insignificant, but it's disclosed. Schedule H, completed. Lawrence Fink.
I'm sorry, so other than the first one, the rest of them need to be remedied. Is that the way we are?
Yes.
Wait a minute, say that again.
Other than the item on Schedule A that we may ignore,
Yeah.
the rest of them need to be remedied by her. They need to be fixed.
No, I don't follow what you're saying. In Schedule A, she names herself as the owner as well as the landlord. And I think there's nothing to fix.
That's what I said. So that one we can skip,
That one we'll skip. Yes.
but the rest of them, she
The
needs
rest of
to
them we do.
remedy. She needs to fix those.
Well, Schedule C, she didn't mark this as yes, but she did file it, Schedule C, listing certain gifts from the town.
And we discussed this earlier for the completeness or accuracy of the statement. I think the council suggested that in these situations, they need to fix the inventory or the list of the schedules, right? Is that the way?
Mm-hmm.
Also have to check the yes box.
And just
Yes.
initial it.
Yes.
Cross out the no and check it.
Okay. I think That's third. All right, Schedule D was marked as not applicable, but then it was partially completed. So this is a situation where we go back and say, did you mean that? Did you not complete it? Or was it just a slip of the pen? Right. The same thing, item C there, Schedule F. Item D, it's the Schedule H. Schedule. There's Schedule L, one of the few people who have a Schedule L, that's other disclosures, that was checked as yes, but there was no actual. And since he didn't give us a schedule, a filled out Schedule L, since this disclosure is voluntary, I think we should not go back and say, now, it applies, now step forward and make your confession.
Right, right.
I think for consistency basis, the list of the schedules should
Match.
correspond
They should
and
match,
match
yes, yes,
the what they are filed. So I think we just stick with that position. So if you checked yes, then you should have filled it out. If you meant no, then check it no and initial it.
Yeah, okay. Maggie Hartman. One of the situations where she wrote 2023 in the blank space on the cover sheet. That has to be come in and cross that out and initial.
Also insert 2022 in the first line there.
Yeah. Zoning.
I have to apologize. Ms. Ringgold. Because I noted some things that do not appear to be accurate. She checked no, and then I said the answers to questions 4 and 6.
Yeah, I didn't see that. The answers to questions 4 and 6 on Schedule B.
Right, I that was my error in saying that there was a problem there.
Yeah.
Because in looking at it now, I don't see any answers to questions 4 and 6. So I
Yeah.
don't know what I was thinking at the time.
Yeah,
So
but no, I didn't see that, so there's no
there's no
issue.
there.
So item B drops.
item B, no action is called for.
Right.
Correct.
We skipped Blackwelder. The same on Schedule A. She designates herself as a tenant of her own. And the question 5, which is relates to the payment made for the acquisition of the property. She describes quite in detail that in addition to paying cash, she assumed a pre-existing mortgage of the property. And question is the amount of the loan assumption could be identified. And yes, schedule item B, Schedule D is incompletely filled out. Again, here we have to go back and get clarification. If needs to identify the relation of the close relative. I think the question is if the name and type of relationship. Now, if
It's interesting. I think this may be a note for us.
uh,
The
uh,
form
well,
does not indicate the relationship, or does it? I don't see
Which, who are
Schedule
we
F.
talking about?
Schedule
Yeah.
F, does it require that they identify the relationship? We don't explicitly say that. I think that
It
should
simply
be
asks the
a
question, do you-
separate question.
Right,
And
right.
right after that, what is the relationship of that person to you?
I think it might be a child.
Well,
That's my note I made here, but I have to find that schedule.
Yes,
Schedule F you're talking about?
Yeah.
right.
Can I keep it over your shoulder?
Yeah, sure.
So it was a mistake.
This is not hers,
This is,
but this is the schedule.
Yeah, it does say that, yeah. Yeah, it says what is the
Oh,
relation?
what is the relation and name? Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. So I don't know if you heard what Sharon mentioned. She has indicated that it's her son, but he didn't start actually until 2023. So she mistakenly included this.
That didn't need to be disclosed. Really.
Didn't need to be disclosed for 2022.
Who are we looking at now?
oh, yeah, she's Eric. Oh, good, I found it now. what is the name of the close relative employed by the town? It's Eric Blackwelder. And then what is the position with the town? And she writes griller/runner CB Water Park. So it must be one of the teenage
Right.
summer employees.
And apparently he's not going to start until this year.
This year, yeah.
Sharon said that he's not
Oh.
even starting.
Oh, so this doesn't apply to?
It doesn't apply to
the twenty-
2020. No.
Okay, so we'll ignore this.
We should ignore this, but she should initial that that's not applicable.
Yeah. Okay. Right, okay. Green Gold, we talked about Jen Rutke. Cover page, it's incomplete. She didn't identify her office. But it's planning and zoning.
She answered question 4, being that question 5 was inappropriately answered. Should she not have put her husband's name on it?
Oh, yeah, I was still on the cover page, under current position or office with the town. She just wrote Chesapeake Beach.
Yeah.
And what she sort of said is Planning and Zoning Commission member. Schedule E, same problem again. She is the owner, but then also filled out questions applicable to tenants. And I think we decided that that is a harmless error. In Schedule B, she indicated that the master list identified Schedule B as inapplicable, but she partially filled out the schedule, and that permits the inference that she, in fact, does have a business interest, so we'll have her clarify.
I think that
It did for me too, and then I had to erase it. Yes. Yes. The form incorrectly populates.
Yeah, I had that issue twice.
Right. That you have to go back and actually delete it. Otherwise, this is what you get. Your name is there, but you have to. I would say this is problem with the form.
Yeah.
Because she has indicated she does not have a business interest.
So you're saying we should actually go back to her and the others that also have the same misunderstanding?
No, if it's just the name,
Yeah.
if it's just the name in a schedule that they have indicated that they are not filing, if the form, the computerized form puts their name automatically there. If they had not paid attention to it, that's what we get.
Yeah.
So it's an innocent mistake, not caused by them. It's caused by the form, the way it operates. So I think it's minor. We should not
So
bother.
we don't go back to those people
In any form,
Well,
any
that-
schedule,
that
they
was
say
my,
no, and it's only their name, we should ignore that schedule.
Well, the same would apply to her Schedule D. She listed it did not apply,
Right.
but then her name appears on the schedule, so that's onerous.
So you really, as I have marked, there's nothing wrong with hers, with her filing, correct? Is that the way you have it? I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah, correct, yeah.
I see.
Go back to Schedule D. Did you say that Schedule D is minor and
B or D?
D?
D,
is in
David,
dog.
okay.
Schedule B appeared schedule, but that was all. Here in the same space for a name, it has an address.
Is that her? I would not be surprised if that's also
you
auto-populated.
Yeah, it's
You
just
know,
her
the
address.
form filled out many fields.
I realize that.
Right.
You know, we have been talking about just the name. Now we have a different,
That's true. Yeah.
whether you think that the insertion of an address, and that's the only piece of information on the schedule, is minor and does not need to be corrected.
Yes, that's my understanding. I mean, there is no real misinformation here. It's a resident up the road here.
Mhm.
I'm okay with just ignoring that as a form problem.
Oh, all okay. Chris Jakubiak, Planning and Zoning Administrator. Reporting period, email address on the cover page, incorrect. Oh, wait a minute, that is not right. The date at the top, you filled out a termination report for somebody who left office last year, 22.
But he also put 22 for the actual
No, it's
report.
not a termination report. He's still working for the town, doesn't he? Yes.
But he also filled out the actual date for the
Yeah.
regular report as well, 2020.
I think we can ignore that and not
I
require
think so too.
correction.
I think so too.
Issue with the email address, there's a misspelling on his last name.
Oh, yes, I see that now. He transposed two letters.
Oh,
It's Jakubiak, not Jakubaik.
he made that mistake.
Yeah.
You know, usually other people make that kind of mistake on my
Well, let's
last
see
name.
whether
Many
we have
people-
anything else for him.
Give him benefit of the doubt. It may have been autocorrect.
Yeah.
All right, Schedule B, he has to complete the questions 5, which would actually, the question is, how much did you pay for this interest? And it makes sense only if he bought his business, but it's a professional practice. And, he built it, and he never bought it. And yeah. So I don't think needs to complete
Did you acquire any interest in the reporting year, during the reporting year? So isn't the answer to that is no?
No, it should be no.
as
It should have been no. Right, he just missed that. He should do that.
oh, you forgot to check no.
Or yes, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
One
Yeah.
blank if. For whom did you apply the blank? Next question is how much did you pay for it? What consideration did you give when it was acquired?
But if he didn't acquire any interest
You
during the reporting period, then he wouldn't have to answer the other question.
Yeah. So we don't need to push him on that one.
Yeah, we do. The point is that he should say no. If he didn't acquire any additional interest, he should say no. If he did, if he bought his partner, then he should say yes,
He,
right?
he needs to answer that question, though. We can't answer it for him.
Exactly, right. Whatever the answer is, it has to be answered.
You acquire any interest during the reporting period? And he said neither yes nor no. Obviously, the answer is could not be yes, because he left all the other sub questions for that apply if yes, left them blank.
He needs to clarify. Is it yes or no? If it's no, he doesn't need to do anything. If it's yes, then he needs to fill out.
Well,
He just
yes,
missed
if
it.
the answer is yes, he has to.
We don't know what his answer is.
No, exactly. He's got to answer that question. We don't know.
He should answer that question.
Yeah, he has to answer.
Say we go to him and say, Chris, check the no box.
No, no, answer this question. Did you buy any additional interest? He says, no, I didn't. Oh, check it. No, you're done. If he says, oh, yeah, I did buy some more shares or whatever.
Okay, so we leave it alone.
Yes.
No, we ask him to.
He needs to fix it. He needs to fix it.
He needs to answer it. He has not filled out the form accurately or completely.
I think the form clearly indicates that he did not buy the business.
How does it? There is a question he has not answered, so we don't know.
The answer can only be no, because if he had bought the business, he would have had to fill out all the details that would follow from the answer yes.
Peter, Peter, I agree with you. I agree with you, but he still has to answer the question. He has to answer it. We cannot answer it for him. He has to answer it.
Okay, it's the consensus of the,
I just noticed, so if you speak clearly here, you can actually hear yourself. So
yeah.
this is a check.
As long as Sharon can hear us.
I know, well, she,
Yeah, you want the people
Right.
to hear too. Yeah, that's true.
but Schedule H, that is something we should probably talk about.
so Schedule H is interesting. In his case, with the instructions we have, he actually needs to complete that for any jurisdiction that he has had interaction with. So he
Yes,
has
that-
many,
that-
many Schedule H in his case.
Here's
Yeah.
one that would apply to the town lawyer.
Right.
here, Also to our own esteemed counsel, I think.
I don't have, personally don't have relationship with the
Firm does.
law firm does.
Well, I mean, he can say the same thing. My firm does, I don't.
Ordinance say that, says something about organizations that where it's a one-man show.
I guess contractual relationship, if you work for a jurisdiction, you have a contractual relationship or no? Your firm does.
Firm does.
And in his case, his firm does, but not himself. The entity,
I don't,
well, I would be right. Right. Well, still, I mean, the company is an entity, it's a separate entity that himself.
Maybe you can help me find this. Conflict of interest.
So, counsel, in your case, let's just take you as a similar situation.
what would you put in number 4 on Schedule A? The amount that
Schedule H,
H,
I wouldn't.
you wouldn't put any money because,
I wouldn't even identify it because I don't have a contractual or financial relationship with the town.
personally, you
Personally.
don't.
I thought about this when I was filling out the form.
Got you. So in reality, if
Chris-
Chris does not have, personally, doesn't have any contractual relationship and it's only his firm does, then he doesn't require to complete Schedule H. Is that what we are saying?
This is what I was looking for, financial disclosure for elected coverage of article applies to, is where position is filled through a contract with a firm. The firm itself must file.
So I see. That's different.
I don't,
There's who must coverage article. This article applies to all local elected officials and candidates for elected office. The appointed officials listed above in the definition of appointed officials. That's alone. Appointed officials, it's a defined term at the. Special counsel appointed by the mayor. So
don't know that I was.
the town zoning administrator, I'm just getting back now to Jakubiec, that's his title.
Mhm.
And so he is named.
So since he's named there, he has to file a
Well,
disclosure
town-
statement.
Town attorney is also.
True.
Attorney.
But again,
Question is, does the contract, is he specifically appointed or is his firm engaged? Jakubiec, that's easy. I mean, he's a one-man operation. So whether he discloses as Jakubiec or whether he discloses as Jakubiec LLC or whatever it is, makes no difference.
it does make a difference. It does make a difference. Jakubiec LLC is an entity, it's a company, it's a separate company. So does that entity require a disclosure? I don't know if the ordinance requires any entity to
Well, the
disclose.
ordinance says where talking about appointed officials, where a position is filled out by an entity, the entity itself has the disclosure obligation.
If that's the case, then I would submit that the council's company firm also is required to file that. That's the requirement.
Well, but the question is, do I fall on the list of appointed officials?
Right.
That's the issue. With respect to Kubiak, he says that he had an interest in Kubiak and Associates, Inc.
Right.
So he was not, even though he may be one person operation, he was not doing it as a sole proprietor.
Correct, yeah.
Right.
And so it's Jakubiak Inc., whatever the name is, he gives it. Actually, that's a bit of a quandary if you have an interest in business entities, is the reporting entity is his company. They have a contract, then Jakubiak and Associates have no interest in any other business entity. I think this is yet another problem to be fixed. Our disclosure forms should reflect the dilemma or the avoidance of a dilemma.
So basically, I'm not sure where we are with this issue. Are we saying that an entity like the council's firm that has relationship with many other jurisdictions in the state, that entity needs to have a disclosure? Is that the way you're reading the ordinance? That's the way you read it. Well, that would be, is that the way you read it, council, as well?
I have to look at the provision again.
Well, this is
I have that right here.
Mr. Jakubiak responds that he has an interest in this entity. Our ordinance provides that if a position is a town zoning administrator is listed as an appointed official.
Right.
That's not,
No question about that.
no question about that. And then it says their position is filled through a contract with a firm. The firm itself has the reporting obligation.
Correct.
Technical threshold question is, does the town have a contract with Jakubiak Inc.? or does it have a contract with Mr. Jakubiec?
And if it's the former,
And same applicable to town council and to yourself and also the engineering.
right,
You know,
there are three companies then, yeah.
conceivably, they came to you personally or came to Mr. Pounds personally. Would you be interested in representing this town? Uh, Yes, he is a member of a firm. However, the firm is internally structured, but that's our lawyer. Maybe he bills under his own name, or as a matter of convenience, he bills, through his firm. But that should be for the future. I think we have to fix this in the way.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah.
But for now, the question is, do we seriously intend to ask Jakubiec to disclose the entire revenue he receives from municipalities? Saying this, my whole instincts rise up and say, hell no, that is not a legitimate question.
But the
The
way,
next question is, are we compelled by these recent amendments to the ordinance, which makes us ask the threshold question, or to do this, or ignore it?
so it seems to me that, let's just take Jakubiec example.
I missed. I didn't hear-
Just taking the disclosure that we are talking about, Chris Jakubiec. So if based on the ordinance and based on the forms we have right now, it seems like if he has a contract directly, personally, with the town of Chesapeake Beach and many other jurisdictions, then he should file many Schedule H's to say, these are my relationships.
Yes.
That's one scenario. If his firm, Jakubiec and Associates, have contracts with Chesapeake Beach and many other jurisdictions, then he should not file any Schedule H on his personal disclosure, but the firm is required to file a disclosure. That's the way I understand we stand. Is that our collective understanding of where we are?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
Well, based on what you just read, right? I mean,
I hear what it's saying. I'm just trying to think.
it doesn't sound reasonable.
No, it doesn't. That's
It doesn't sound reasonable. It seems way overreach in either case, frankly. In either case, even if they have personal,
yeah,
I mean, you want me to disclose all the
all the municipalities,
I have
all of that,
from-
yeah,
and-
yeah. Across many states. I mean, all of that.
Right,
yeah,
right.
It seems much.
it seems an overreach. So I would submit that this is an item we leave with you, council.
Yeah.
To leave it with you to figure out an advice of what's the proper path forward, because it seems like something needs to change, because it seems like it's unreasonable right now.
Well, I think as a practical matter, we cannot insist that Jakubiec's firm or your firm or town councils, that they make these disclosures. It's totally unrealistic. It won't happen. So right now, I see no way around it except to accept the filings that they made, knowing that never council could come, the ethics commission, and say, you guys didn't do what you were required to do. To which our answer, I think, hypothetically, if it should happen, we are aware that we should have insisted on answers to this question. We consider this a practical impossibility, and we are, working at a solution. So I throw myself at the mercy of the court.
Well, that would be one approach. What I would suggest is that the better approach may be that we have the council look into this and put something in the records that based on whatever, this is the proper action. And it makes sense for us. I'm just speculating to change this next year, and it's appropriate for us not to insist on this information to be gathered this year or something along those lines that basically indicates, and it's for the record, that we have talked about this, and it's
Yeah, it's probably my job to draft such a statement. But needless to say, I won't release it to anyone without taking the advice of counsel. And that would be filed with the with these disclosure statements.
Yeah.
that would be
Or
appropriate.
with the individual disclosure statements, so that unlikely event that there should be some kind of an audit.
That's unlikely.
It's
are
unlikely, but
covered as
nonetheless,
best
for
we can.
completeness, right? I think for properness, it makes sense to have that in place. Okay, so based on that, we skip Schedule H in this case.
We also skip it for the town attorney.
Precisely, until the, right, yes.
All right, let's move on.
Let's ask Sharon. Sharon, can you verify sometime, not now, town has a contractual relationship with my firm, Council Baradell, and not with me? And I think that's the case because with looking at the list of businesses with whom the town does business, I believe it says Council Baradell and not me.
And while you're doing that, you may want to do the same with the other two firms.
Yes.
To just make
Them all
sure
at the same time, yeah,
that they are the agreements with individuals or
with the
with the
firm.
firms.
With three. My
Council
former
Barrett,
firm,
yeah,
with
engineering firm, yeah.
Messick Engineering. And with Jakubiak, well, I think we know that, but it's verified. And also with Todd's their firm. I would just like to know, for, reiterate for the record that it's obvious that I have a personal interest in this
Mhm.
Right.
issue.
Of course.
Because I'm not entirely objective.
Understand.
You mentioned, just out of curiosity, you mentioned previous employer, so you have left that firm and you're working.
Well, I'm of counsel to that firm, which means I have a contractual relationship with the firm, but I'm not an associate, I'm not a partner. And work, I guess through my own name.
Right.
As self-employed.
Okay, so you wouldn't list the firm on Schedule B because you don't have an equity
Right.
interest in it.
Right.
And we will offend what you did.
And I think last year I did note it because of that time, for the prior reporting period, I did have an interest in the firm.
Okay, well, that's history.
Yeah, that's history, but just, so now I have no financial.
Good. Reduces the paperwork.
I did not have any financial relation or with the firm or interest in the firm for the prior, for the past calendar year.
Okay.
Before we leave
Okay,
this, I
we-
think for the optics of all of it, it might be wise to have our council treated as same as us.
To
For
do
the
it.
optics, it might be wise to have the council be just like us. It doesn't stick out, that's all.
Yeah.
And maybe not this year, maybe for the future, but just to consider that. Yeah.
And so the path forward, just making sure I understood, the path forward is that the chair, in consultation with the council, will cover this issue as a memo to file or what have you.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
And we move on to Mr. Safai.
Yes.
Other page, position held, address incomplete. You wrote Chesapeake Beach, I think, if I could find it, rather than
No problem, I can correct that.
I can find
I have it there and I can just, yeah. Yeah, it's no problem, Peter. Sharon has it, I'll fix it
Oh, okay.
before we leave.
All right, then we can move on. Interest on cover page incomplete. It doesn't say CB, but we dealt with that. Otherwise, okay. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Fred, there were already corrections made on record.
When I came in today, I gave Sharon 2 corrected schedules, which I initialed, and also cover page, all stapled together.
And these are both problems with auto population, yeah.
Board of Elections, Randy Goodman, all okay? Very good, thanks, Randy. Ms. Soroka? Address on the cover page is missing. That has to be supplied. In this connection, I had a general question. We say town mailing address. And a mailing address, if somebody has a post office box, that would be a mailing address by definition. And next time around, I think we should be more specific. Do you want the physical residence address? Or if somebody has a PO box that's sufficient. But anyway, Ms. Soroka should give us her mailing address. There's an incomplete Schedule A. It listed that there's a joint owner of her property.
It's
the
a he.
name is not-
It's Dominic. It's he.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, right. It's he.
I think it was.
I know him.
Nikki likes the singing. None.
Yeah.
Okay, he, right. Problem with schedule.
Yeah, who are we looking at right now?
I'm looking at
Soroka.
Soroka, Schedule G.
So he lists Margaret Hartman.
Sources of earned income.
Actually, my recitation's a little bit wrong. I see that the response to question 3 gives the name and identify the relationship of any close relative who received earned income, and then Peggy Margaret Hartman, but does not identify the relationship. On 3 and number 4, name and address of each employer from whom the close relative received earned income. And there's an address there. I don't know what kind of address that is, but
That's his address, I think. It got populated again, probably.
still, question 4 should have been answered fully.
Right. Should have been town of Chesapeake Beach. The answer should have been right. It's not filled out correctly.
Yeah, the address there at the bottom, that's his property. But the mailing address, there's no blank, so it could be a commercial rental property that he has.
Well, but the question is, give the name and address of each employer from whom the close relative received earned income. That's the question.
No, I'm just saying the address shown there, that's the address in Schedule A. It's unclear whether that is his residence, because his address on the cover page is not shown.
The point is that he should put the name and the address of the employer of Margaret Hartman, right? I mean, that's what needs to be corrected.
Agreed, yes, yes.
Agreed?
Mhm, yes.
The relationship of the
And the
close
relationship.
relative, that name, for instance, coincides with the name of council member.
She is. And it's the spouse. He has indicated spouse, but it's not in the right
Where's
place. He has it on the
I mean,
form.
I have no doubt that that's who it is.
spouse.
But he should have put that next to Margaret's or Peggy's name, and he didn't. It just, and I don't know if it's a problem with the form or he mistakenly put it there.
Oh, town council member. Oh, there it is. F, yeah. Well, anyway, he has to complete that.
Right, correct those issues, yeah.
An attorney.
Are we on Jody Hoon?
Town staff. Board of Appeals. Okay. Yeah, Holy Wall, apparently she has made no disclosure of earned income, though she no doubt earned income. I assume.
Did you skip Board of Appeals?
Did I skip who? Board of Appeals.
Appeals.
There is nothing.
So the first one is okay.
First one is
The
okay.
second one had a
First
problem.
one is address incomplete.
Yeah.
Identifier saying Chesapeake Beach is not there. Forgive that.
So Holly, you said that she didn't disclose the
My error in not picking that up.
earned income?
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Schedule G.
Schedule G needs to be.
G, yeah.
Yeah. Sharon. Also no Schedule G. No doubt you have earned income. The town must pay you.
She does this for fun. Again, this is a automatic population, the Schedule B problem.
Schedule B. One of these situations
Yes.
where they're
Auto-populated, yeah, yeah.
all right.
It's okay.
Town treasurer.
G again.
Should be a Schedule G. Of course, no doubt she gets paid.
That's a good point.
Town attorney. And, well, the problematic one. Beginning with a mailing address, if it's Mr. Pound's the town mailing address It's not an Edgewater. If it's, if the proper respondent, the proper filer is the law firm, Alexander and Cleaver, then cover page is correct.
Well,
If the person filing would have to identify the capacity in which he signs. It could be, the managing partner or the, whoever has the authority to bind the company.
I think this question,
Partnership, it could be any partner.
this question, in the future, we should make it your mailing address.
Yes, your mailing address.
Your mailing.
Or your-
And I think that's what, I'm assuming that's what he has filled out,
Yeah.
that he lives in Edgewater, but he works for the town, right?
I think what we want to do, we want to have the physical mailing address.
Right, and that's what he has given. In
But it's
Edgewater,
not a town mailing.
but it's not, he doesn't live in the town, and he doesn't have to. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
what we need to do. You're
misleading
right,
part.
you're right.
That's the misleading part.
Yeah, the town needs to be
It
removed.
should be your mailing address.
No, we should not have. It should be the physical mailing address. Not everybody has a town mailing address. So if we say
Exactly.
town refers to
It
Chesapeake Beach.
it should be your mailing
It should
address.
be that person's actual mailing
Right.
address
Yeah,
that the post office will recognize.
exactly.
Well, I say let's leave Mr. Pound's statement alone, because we run into the same problems that we discussed before.
Yes.
Well, except that Schedule F is a different issue.
Relative, right?
I think that's a auto-populated. That's probably the mistake. And did he indicate F is not applicable to him?
Those
Yes, he indicated F does not apply to
road
him.
Edgewater.
It's a populated thing that has happened. He has indicated F is not applicable to him, but that Edgewater was picked up from somewhere else. in the
Okay, so
form.
we treat this as a nullity.
You're right. It's a form issue. Now, let me ask you this. I guess in the case of the town attorney, Schedule H goes back to the discussion we had, but how about Schedule G? Because he is getting compensated by the town, right?
If,
Because
uh,
we said all the staff members need to fill out G.
why did I not see that? No Schedule G. Yeah. I made that note to myself.
You did make that note here. So Schedule G is an issue.
Yeah, no, he has to answer that. It's just the source. It's not like the other, how much did they pay you question, but H.
Does that apply
He
to the
should say,
council?
Earned income law practice.
Does the same apply to the council? That you have to fill out Schedule G? Right? Same concept. Right.
Oh, no, you filed a Schedule G. That's what my notes say.
Don't have a copy of this. I don't know, so I'm missing something. Oh.
I filled out Schedule T.
You did? Oh, okay, so you had that covered.
Yeah, I have no quarrel with you there.
And I filled it out.
You filled it
as,
out. You did have earned income.
As self-employed.
Because you are in this case. Got you. Right, right.
Our town engineer.
So Dennis Berger.
No, probably the appropriate filer would be his company. Unless he was hired strictly in his personal capacity. Corporation. He probably has a corporate title. We have a Schedule D. Officer position, directorship. Towns that do.
So are we on the next one?
Well, and if he listed the filer as in his own name personally.
The attorney.
And he says he has an interest in company
Massachusetts.
and that's fine as far as it goes. And except that, under the ordinance, the filer should be the corporation.
Well, this ties to the question that we need to get answer on
That
H,
is,
right? This is all tied to
yeah.
H.
I mean, what I would say, let's, we get the information we are looking for. We have the usual H problem. It's not there.
Right.
If needs to be answered. Oh, or did you acquire an interest? Oh, same situation we battled about. Didn't check yes or no.
Right.
No further information. So I don't think we should go back and say, check the yes or no.
I agree.
Well, the answer clearly is no. Yes, question.
We should
three.
not. The auto-populated ones, we are not going to go back to them.
Rhyme. I'm a poet. Value of your interest.
Wait a minute.
Oh, at 5%. Well, I'm not sure that Mesa Group Inc. is publicly traded. That doesn't sound implausible. But he tells us he has an 85% interest in it. So he just answered this in the wrong slit.
That's a small local company.
No, it wouldn't be public.
No.
No. But here, 85%, what we really want to know is, how much of it is your share?
I thought he said he owns 85%.
Yeah, but if it's publicly traded.
Oh, right.
Otherwise, give us a percentage.
Right.
He told us. Okay. Now, we have some stragglers to look at. One is myself.
Are we going by this list? Are we going in this order? Because we didn't finish. We had other people still.
I think there was nothing to.
So this is where we left, right? So we went through,
Yeah, there was nothing to discuss, I thought.
but these ones, are we not going to discuss these? And these?
These, yes.
How about these?
Well, nothing to say,
Well,
unless
yeah, let's
You
talk
find
about them
nothing.
because I think I was just looking at Carlos. Who was that?
Code enforcement officer, no,
All of these,
no Schedule G.
G, exactly. So that's on a problem.
Okay, that he should provide.
Yeah, Schedule G.
You're right.
Oh, let's look at the next one.
Code enforcement.
I think the Schedule A issue you agreed to ignore.
Agreed, yes.
Question she didn't answer.
It's not that there's no Schedule A, so he doesn't own property.
What is Schedule A?
Are we talking about Berger?
Berger?
Who are we
I
talking?
don't have Berger.
You're looking at it now.
I think Berger, the only thing missing is Schedule G, right? And now we are moving to Richard.
Yes, yeah.
So now we are moving to Carla Richard.
Same thing, Schedule G.
Schedule G is missing also? Yeah, it's missing.
Yeah, no Schedule G.
So Schedule A problem is not a big deal. Richard's filing. Josh Stinnett also misses Schedule G. Doesn't have Schedule G.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he had originally written under address on the cover sheet under the town address, PO box. That's crossed out, and then he gave what seems to be a resident in Mechanicsville. So
That's fine.
nothing to do.
So Wayne Newton, also Schedule G is missing.
Yes.
Schedule B.
And we move on to party.
to Bartek?
He had to provide Schedule G. Didn't enclose the earned income. But he did disclose it on Schedule L. He's the only one who gave us Schedule L, which is there anything else that you wish to disclose. And apparently he didn't view his stipend as council member as earned income. Now, we are not fully in agreement with that interpretation, but he did make the disclosure.
So what is there any action on Patrick? Or he has disclosed that we take that?
I think all the information is there. I mean, he has no, didn't file Schedule H, which calls for relationship with a public entity.
Okay, so we're okay with that.
He should have done it, but the information is in L.
Okay.
So I think we should be satisfied with that.
Okay, and then next is you. On the address problem.
I noted no black marks for myself.
Yeah, well,
Of course you would, yes.
the council didn't either.
I lie through my teeth habitually. I should be in politics.
And James Berry.
Oh, James Berry. Now
Did
that's a fun one, isn't it?
Did he have a G?
G,
He does.
He did not file a G.
He needs G.
Well, he didn't file G, didn't file B, if it applies, didn't file H. And in Schedule A, he has two Schedules A, and one piece of property, and question number 10, acquired from, ordered from Gritty. And
From who?
Gritty.
Who's Gritty?
Oh,
Gritty is a character who works on boats around here.
Mm.
Every marina or town that has a marina has a Gritty. Yeah, they're eccentrics. Last year he also put the same entry on Gritty. Now, I know Gritty. I know
remember
his
that,
place
yeah.
where
I
it
remember
is. And but nobody knows Gritty's real name. That's part of the persona of these types of individuals. And I remember asking Jim, Gritty, he's done work on my boat. What's his real name? And he said,
Really?
I don't know.
Really?
Nobody knows. But well, last year we let it pass. Thinking that what's the value of that question anyway? And that's a more general. Why are we asking that? Most people just put in a name, and that's all the question. All we ask, you know. Joe Blow. So if we really want to know if there's a reason, we should be conscious of the reason. And does the not our ordinance, but does the state actually mandate that we collect this information?
question.
And quite frankly, at my house, bought it over 30 years ago. It was from an estate, and I would have to grab out the old files
Yeah,
to find who was the seller. Now, what possible relation could that have to do with public efforts?
Well, I think.
So I'd like that question, if we can, would like to eliminate or propose to eliminate that question for the future.
So I'm all for simplifying the form where we don't think that it adds any value or it's not mandated. But at the same time, if the question is there now, it should be
The answer,
properly
yes,
answered
Yes.
in this go around.
So
So we are going to address that
we
issue.
should go back
Yes.
to Jim and say, fix it up, answer all the questions, and please try to make it legible.
So what schedule did you say you think he needs?
Jim Berry has no Schedule G.
Well, does he need
And,
D?
and on in
GB, H, and
the
A.
Schedule A, number 10 question, from whom he bought. He bought one property from Gritty and another property from QBH.
Yes, that's what that is. Yeah.
And I don't know whether that means anything. Oh,
So it's an acronym for a
an
company.
acronym for a company.
I think that's okay.
I do too. Yeah.
In other words, if I were to try to find them,
Find them, yeah.
I would probably Google
GBH and
GBH real estate or something, and they find it. Okay, so let's live with that, but he has to do something about Gritty.
grid is an issue.
Well, if you go down to the dock, what you find gritty?
Yes, you would.
If you come into town, you know, it's on the right side. You see a driveway there, you see parked boats. There's a building, it's cluttered up with marine artifacts of various kinds. Don't know whether it has a street address or whether it is, near mile marker so and so on the State Route 260 or something.
Peter?
Probably say, well, you didn't complain last year. Well, good for you. This year we do complain.
Peter, why do you think that D, he needs to fill out D?
Hmm?
Why do you think he needs to fill out Schedule D?
I think he said
No,
G.
G.
Oh, G, I'm sorry, Mr., I apologize.
I mean, we know that one source of earned income for him is what the town pays him. Hope he pays him well. He's very capable. So does volunteer work. Carrying buckets of oyster shells out to the ecological reef and there's a water main break. Seems to be frequent, not in the old part of town, in the new one on the across the wetland on the hill. Shows that developers build cheap.
Okay, I'm
uh,
sorry. Going back to Keith Patrick. The one I have, it just has Schedule L. Copy I have, is that all he filed?
And we only have that, exactly, yeah.
Is that what you have? to-
Thing, yeah.
Okay, but he filed more.
Schedules A and G.
Okay. It just
And,
didn't copy well, that's okay.
And G didn't disclose the stipend from the town, but he put this on Schedule L.
It's just an issue of copying.
You know, it's
Okay.
an interpretation, and he doesn't interpret his stipend as
Right.
earned income. You know, something else, but he disclosed it.
Good, okay.
The back to the agenda. Very quickly, for the first time, we have this new feature that the filer wants to be informed if somebody actually looks at these, and that involves kicks in a legal apparatus. First of all, filings become a public record, and by state law, the public has a right to access those records. On the other hand, there are certain barriers around the disclosure of information the state deems confidential. And I don't think there's anything we should be aware of it, and the town's management should be aware of it.
My recollection is that Holly addressed that, in that they set up a procedure in town that if somebody asks, first off, they keep track of who asked the information and they communicate to the filer. But secondly, what they share with the person who asks it is a redacted version of the disclosure, meaning that all the personal information is redacted.
Well, the home address.
The home address.
Home address.
Home address.
Right.
And I think employees have, their home address cannot be disclosed.
So we don't have to address anything. I think
No,
that
we
the town
don't,
has addressed that.
We discussed this, received the advice of counsel, and that's it. Carol, you've seen the email, and I think you should make sure that the town attorney and Holly and the mayor are aware of this. They would, want to establish procedures, mainly for you, I imagine, to monitor and make sure that it's done the right way. Any additional matter for discussion? Have an additional matter, but no discussion. Farhad has, since the last meeting, has accepted a ongoing appointment to this body for a 3-year term.
Congratulations.
That gets us to the item F, comments by commissioners and members of the public. And I have no comment. Usually I like to say something lighthearted, but since we've spent going on 3 hours, say
We want to schedule the next meeting?
I have no other comment.
okay, we are adjourned.
Well, the next meeting. Next
Oh,
meeting.
I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. I looked over the next meeting. But there's, unless anyone who wants to take a second look at the corrected statements, and I think there are still some stragglers that haven't filed yet, Sharon, is that right? So we should review those. And must that be done at a meeting,
Yes.
public meeting?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we could set a date now, hoping that the stragglers come in before then. If they don't, we'll just reschedule or postpone.
If they don't, then at that point, you may want to take some action and direct.
Well, that's another thing. We already have 3 stragglers, including myself, because my computer was hacked and it was out of commission. But we know there are others, I think, others still to come, and one.
And there's some dates
One
then.
thing we could wait is until
They all come.
everything is on hand, and then schedule or fix something now so it can be put on the calendar.
Just for your information, I will be away the entire month, the first 19 days of July.
Skiing in the Andes, no doubt.
Yeah, climbing up Mountain Alley.
Oh,
Or seeing the water sites and then climbing up Mountain Alley.
Very good.
Nice.
You know, people have literally been blown off the side of that mountain.
Lay yourself down.
Okay, so
I'll be gone for a good part of June.
well, June is taking care of July is taking care of. Well, we'll find, I guess.
Yeah, we'll find out when it's come in,
by
yeah.
email, when we have everything, then
Yes.
Sharon, you would float an email to find out or
Yeah.
suggest some dates and we take it from there.
I mean, after we get this.
Oh, right, the stragglers, right. Would that work? Okay,
It works.
all right. Peter, Sharon will, after she receives all the stragglers, she will organize a meeting. She will set it.
Okay. And I think it would be in compliance with the Public Meetings Act to have it electronically.
Good, yeah. Zoom, yeah, good.
Oh, I can Zoom. Good. If the capability is there.
They can do Zoom here,
No,
for sure. So, yeah,
Yeah, we can.
if that's necessary, yeah. Especially if there are extended vacations that are coming up.
Okay. Comes in if you can agree on a physical meeting, so to do it electronically. You know, the big chore ahead is to see whether we can simplify and shorting ordinance. And statements, but that's what.
You want these back, Sharon?
Well,
So much personal information.
Yeah,
that
I
would-
feel the same way. If you have a way to recycle them in
Yeah.
a safe way, I much prefer that rather than putting it in my.
yeah.
We adjourn?
yeah, adjourn.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sharon.
I don't know what my thinking was.
You thought it's gonna be a 15-minute?
No. After 3 hours. No, that wasn't it. Why? I must have had some reason not to flag